Hi, everybody. My name is Miles, and I'm with Peak Performers. Thank you for joining us for this installment of My Disability Story. I'm a disability inclusion partner here at Peak Performers, so it's my job to educate and advocate on behalf of individuals with disabilities that live within our community. And part of this is I seek to go around telling the story of as many different individuals, as many different disabilities, neurodiversities, as well as chronic medical conditions that I can possibly meet. Because so often, what I find is that people tell me, I just feel like I'm alone and that there's nobody else like me in the world. And that's not true. You have other people that are like you. And I'm so excited to have Maze on the show with me today. So, Maze, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, my name is Maze.
And Maze, would you mind telling me a little bit more about the specific disabilities that you experience?
So I have ADHD impulsive type, and I'm so ADHD that as a assigned female at birth person in second grade in the 90s, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which that was really uncommon. Mostly it was little boys who were diagnosed. I also have an anxiety disorder, which as we talk, I'll tell you how those two interact because it's not great, honestly. Um, I am non-binary, which isn't technically a disability, but does impact me in the way that I walk around in the world. So I know that a lot of things like ADHD and autism are very underdiagnosed when it comes to women. And I have a lot of friends who found out late in life they had ADHD. I was weirdly privileged in that I'm so ADHD that they figured it out pretty early. I mean, I was getting constantly sent to the principal's office, even hit, like spanked at school because I couldn't sit still and I wasn't paying attention. Although I don't have an attentive type, I have impulsive type, which unfortunately as a child means I was like very reactive. And so I think that's part of why they caught mine. I think it's harder with an attentive type because you're daydreaming, but you're not ruining anybody's day. But if you're impulsive type and a kid, I found it because my daughter is also impulsive type. And so when she overreacts at school and even like pushes out, I thought I did that because I grew up with parents who did the old school discipline, where they would spank me. I never spanked my kid and she's pushing out. And I'm like, why is this happening? And I remember I had a therapist who said, did you really think you were going to outparent neurotransmitters? Like, this is the way her brain is. And when she gets overwhelmed and she pushes out, it's not really her fault. It's her disability. It's the way her brain works. And so getting medication and therapy for her has made a big difference. I was medicated since I was in second grade. However, I didn't get the kind of holistic therapy. I didn't get the like the correct redirection. Like I had medication, but I was still getting into fist fights, in middle school as a little girl because I was so impulsive and I wasn't guided. Like my daughter is being, she's a kid of the now. And so they get medication, but they also get a lot of like emotional intelligence work and, me trying really hard to not be as reactive. And obviously I don't do physical discipline like my parents did.
So within ADHD, there is a spectrum, right? There is a spectrum of experiences. So you described two different kinds of ADHD. What are those, and where do most people fall?
So there's inattentive type, which are the people who, when you go, "Oh, a squirrel," and you look, like that kind of joke people make that whatever, you have trouble, focusing your attention. So I think some people misunderstand ADHD as an inability to pay attention when it is an inability to regulate your attention.
Hmm.
So whenever you see ADHD people not paying attention, it's not that they don't care and don't want to, but it may be that the way their brain is firing out, I don't exactly remember if it's dopamine or what, they can't regulate their attention. But on the other side is hyper focus, where they can like you get so deep in, and I do get hyper focus that like everything around you is happening, but you only focus on this problem. So that's the hyper focus part. And the other type of ADHD is impulsive type, and that's what I have, which means sometimes in social situations, I might be unaware of what's happening because I'm so hyped up and I'm like going, going, going. Um, it means, I mean, on the bad side, it might mean that I spend a little money I shouldn't have, or it might be that I say the wrong thing. But on the good side, I'm way less risk averse, which allows me to be more creative and find solutions. Because that when you don't have that second guessing voice, you're, I think, able to really spark off ideas, and that's been something that's been really beneficial to me. There is overlap and some people have mixed type, but ADHD I think is that inability to regulate, or a difference of regulating attention more than a lack of attention. We can pay attention, but it may not be to what you want us to.
What has your journey towards managing this kind of looked like? Because obviously, like in today's world, once we get past the schoolyard, we can't get in fist fights with people on a daily basis. So, like, what's your process like been for like managing this and kind of understanding yourself?
When I was younger, I was on medications and it worked great. And then when I was 16, my parents said, "We think you're old enough to make that choice for yourself now." And I said, "Okay, I'll take my medicine." But no one reminded me. So I quit
Mm.
taking it. And it wasn't even it just literally there was no one reminding me. And so I didn't take it for a while. And then one day in college, I tried one and I sat on a couch and stared at a wall for probably 3 hours. I know. And my roommates came back and like, "Oh, were you asleep?" And I was like, "What? No." So I was like, "Okay, maybe I won't take this medication because I need to be able to, move around the world." Well, many years after this, came to my attention that my ADHD was negatively impacting my spouse because, inattention can do so. And my spouse and my daughter are both on medication. So they were like, "Hey, would you mind trying it again?" I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll try it again." Well, unfortunately, since I was a child, I've developed an anxiety disorder and cyclothymia, which is similar to bipolar, but not as extreme. So when I started taking ADHD medication and stimulants, it caused my anxiety to spike so extremely high. I was like wanting to like hurt myself. Like it was so bad. And I kept saying, "Okay, I'm not really, it's not real, it's not real. I need to like wait." And I tried 3 different kinds, and every time within 24 hours, I was having extreme, like, thoughts of self-harm. So I can't take ADHD medication because of my anxiety and my cyclothymia. I am now on a mood stabilizer and small amount of antidepressant, and I'm also, I have Ativan for anxiety as needed. So I have medications to help some of my other parts of my, mental illness and disability, but I can't take anything for ADHD.
Mm.
So, um I have fidgets that I can use. I'm very fortunate to work at ACC. In fact, my department is a neurodiverse, what is it called? A neurodiverse affirming workplace. Like we got a certification and everything, like a neurodiverse professional workplace. Um, so we're very understanding. I also keep lists. I use my calendar a lot. I have to put all these things in place to make sure I'm successful. And I was able to do 2 master's degrees without ADHD medication, before I even came here. So, like, I think because I'm impulsive type and not inattentive type, that's part of why I was able to do these things as long as I keep structure. Like, I have to make a structure for myself so I don't forget things or go off on a lark.
The anxiety portion of that, did that come out of ADHD and kind of the experience of growing up with it? Or was it something that just has been kind of within you this whole time, do you think?
It's hard to say. I will say there's a lot of mental illness in my family. I have family members who have like full on bipolar, so I think
Mm.
it's genetic. I think the bipolar, baby bipolar as they call it, because I don't get full mania or full depression
Mm.
typically. Um, I think unless those medications like really spike me up.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not really sure. I mean, I also know that there are things that can lead to anxiety, like if you're physically disciplined as a child, that can increase chance of anxiety. Um, there are a lot of things that could have given me the anxiety. I don't think it must have been there all along. Otherwise, I feel like the stimulants would have already interacted with it, but maybe not. It's hard to
Mm.
say like what happened between 18 and 40, basically what happened in my brain that at 35 or whatever it was.
Now, some people might see you as an exuberant person, right? Like you are full of energy, you're full of, and every time I meet you in the community, you are so full of positive energy that it's a little bit like, wow, I wish I could be like Maze. So I think that anxiety is oftentimes associated with people that are a little bit more withdrawn. So could you talk to that experience a little bit more? Like, what's going on through your head and how does that manifest for you, especially like in a work kind of environment?
I remember being in grad school and people saying, "Oh my God, Maze, you are the most fun, energetic, positive person in the class. You're like the clown. We love you." And I would like, I'm happy. I'm there on people. And then I would go back to my apartment by myself, lay in my bed and cry myself to sleep and not get out of bed. There's a thing in autism called masking, which
Mm.
it's possible. I mean, it's not intentional. I'm not like, and now I've got to put on my happy face. But I think just being around people really energizes me. And so yes, I have anxiety, but something about social interactions a lot of time will kind of, I don't know, push it down. Or if I'm feeling bad, I don't go out. Yeah, that's been an interesting dichotomy my whole life when people are like, when I say I have anxiety or I have depression, they're like, you?
Mhm.
You? But you're blah blah. I'm like, yeah, well, I've always been a very all in. Like I'm all in. I'm all the way. Again, I'm not all the way enough to get a full bipolar diagnosis, but like I definitely have a fuller range of emotional experiences than the neurotypical person, which is great and also terrible. I remember in a college, someone saying, "Whatever you're on, can I have it?" And I'm like, "Well, it's genetic. It's called ADHD, and it's too late for you." And
Mhm.
like sometimes in social situations, I get so excited, I have to go find like a dark, still room and like bring myself back down because I can feel like it all building.
I appreciate you being open to talking about your mental health. Particularly, you had called out kind of like how you had periods of time where you were considering self-harm. I was curious because now is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I was wondering if you could speak to what Mental Health Awareness Month is all about and what it means to you personally.
When I was kind of coming out in the early 2000s, there was this big campaign of like, if people know us, they can't hate us. That a lot of times the people in our lives, because this wasn't now where everybody's allowed to be gay. Well, we'll see now. But back then it was very quiet, very shameful. And like, we had this whole thing about busting open the closet door. And that really impacted me. Of the more people in my life who got to know me and then I came out, that would open their eyes. And I feel the same way about mental health issues. There's this taboo, keep it quiet, it's in the closet, no one wants to know. And I'm like, no, like open the door, let people see. And I would even talk to people very openly about the medications I'm on. And people go, it's okay. And like, it's okay if you have it. It's not a big deal. And here's, oh, did you want to see my bottle? Here's the medication. And let me write it down for you. And oh, I tried that one. I tried that one. So I think mental health awareness is something where everyone, if you understand that a lot of people have it and are able to like manage it, it can help other people have it, manage it, and recognize themselves and go, that's why. Earlier, you mentioned like girls not getting diagnosed with ADHD as much. And I had the problem with bipolar where
Mhm.
I'm like, I have a family history. I have all these things. I'm like, well, but you have ADHD. It's probably the ADHD. Well, but you're able to get a degree. You have a job. You have a you're I have multiple. I'm polyamorous. I got 3 relationships. And a lot of those criteria, like work, relationships, school, are the criteria for if you're disabled enough. And they don't see me crying in my bed. They don't see all those things. And so getting a diagnosis, finally, I told my psychiatrist, what if it's like a joke? We pretended I have some bipolar and we just tried out a mood stabilizer. What if like we thought it was funny? And I finally found one that would give me one and it has really made a difference. And
Mhm.
it's also been eye-opening of why I had some of the issues I've had. I'm like, oh, because that's been here and no one would hear me though, you know?
Mhm.
I wasn't disabled enough. It's like feeling like you're poor, but you're not poor enough to like get services, but you're not rich enough to buy anything. And that's how I felt with my mental health. Like I'm in this weird liminal place where no one is giving me the help I need because I'm not enough. And I'm like, come on.
What would you say to somebody that has a similar experience to you, but maybe they don't live in a place where they feel like they can be themselves?
If they're young, I just say wait. Like it'll get better. You'll find your people. You will. Get out of that town, go to college, meet your people. Cause that made a huge difference to me was just meeting the other weirdos. I mean, like, okay, I'm not the only one. Not being dependent on my parents made a big deal because then I felt, okay, now I can go and live a life and not be worried about if they know what will happen, which by the way, I mean, not ADHD, they know it's ADHD, but queer, I tried really hard to hide it. I was fortunate when I came out, it didn't end my life like I thought it would. Like, I thought it would, I'd heard so many horror stories and I had my own concerns, my parents being more conservative. But for me, I was fortunate. They weren't like so excited about it, but it wasn't the end of the world I thought it would be.
What would you say to older adults that might be in the audience that are thinking about not only mental health, but things like ADHD?
But yeah, I know people used to think it wasn't real. And I think if you see how medications for most people can help positively impact their ability to do what they need to do, people who don't have, comorbidities like I do,
Mhm.
um, it's real. And I think just being patient with people and understanding and realizing that yes, there's some stuff about it that sucks, that is bad, but also there's stuff about it that's amazing. It's like a superpower, and, like, there's so much I can do on a team because of my ADHD. Again, being able and willing to take those risks, having a positive mindset. They say it's more you're more creative. I don't know why, but that's what they say. I don't know why. Um, and so I feel like you need to understand that there's 2 sides of the coin.
I think you bring up an interesting point and talking about two sides of the coin. And I often say that empathy is a bit of a double edged sword because something like anxiety is very relatable for most people because most people have felt anxious from time to time. But could you explore with me like where it becomes like something that is like actually diagnosed in a clinical setting? Like where does that line actually reside?
If your anxiety is so bad that you're not connecting with people, that you're not completing tasks at work, that's definitely diagnosable. If it's causing you to have thoughts of self-harm, if you are unable to function, like that's diagnosable. I would say I it's like a physical feeling, the anxiety I get, where like my stomach feels really bad and my mind can't stop. And you may even have intrusive thoughts, thinking of every bad thing that could happen. And so you're not able to focus on the good things in your life, to go out and be with your friends if that's what you're into. I'm extroverted, so if I'm not going out with people, that's a real bad that's a real flag. Exercise is honestly really helpful. I'm in Orange Theory now, and I've been getting strong, and it helps your brain. Yeah, it helps your brain to process things. I have Ativan, which is a basically like the red button is what I call it, the red button. So if things are really bad and my brain won't stop, I can push the red button, and now it's gonna make me very chill. I might even fall asleep, but sometimes you gotta push the red button, and that's okay. Therapy helps a lot where you can talk about your issues. And I'm just saying out loud what I'm anxious about, and I'm like, "Oh, does that even make sense?" But when it's when it's so intense in your brain, sometimes you can't access those things, so you just gotta push the red button and say, "Okay, I'm gonna try again tomorrow because today it ain't happening."
You mentioned that ACC has been very accepting of you, neurodiversities and all. But could you talk a little bit more about like the different employment experiences that you have had over time, and how you've adapted over the years too?
So, I wanna start with ACC. So it's been interesting. The interview I had, I remember the end of it, the hiring manager was like, "I need you on my team." I was the last interview after 3 days of interviews, and I was on a Friday at, like, 4 o'clock. And I get into and it was a virtual interview, and you can just see everybody's like this, but I'm da 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 da. And the hiring manager was like, "I cannot wait to have you on my team. I need your energy every day. It's so refreshing." It's like, and I was like, "Heck yeah." I said, "Well, if you hire me, you will have that." On the other side, now I'm in a position where I've been here for a couple years, and I'm thinking about, can I move up at all? Can I move into more leadership roles? And I've been given feedback now by 3 different people. If I want that, I really need to work on my image and make sure people take me
Hmm.
seriously. And I'm like, I have 2 master's degrees. I work very hard. I managed a hotel back in the day. Um, I have a big presence on campus. Like, people know me. I think I have a good reputation. But it's interesting that a lot of times when you're exuberant, energetic, and positive, people think that means you can't be serious. You can't be the boss. You can't be, an authority. It makes me wonder if my ADHD, if it's misinterpreted as an inability to boss up, if
Hmm.
that will negatively impact my career. Now we'll see. I'm now like in the process of trying to like seek out those opportunities, but that's made me wonder. I try to have a lot of structure in my work to keep me on task. And also I'm really good at accessing other people's strengths. So saying like, "Hey, Miles, I've noticed that you're really good at, will you help me? Can we
Hmm.
work together? How can I help you?" And so using a collaborative approach has been really great for me professionally because I'm able to really sync up with other people and not, I'm good at seeing like I'm not good at this, but that person's good at it. How can we work together? We do this at ACC. It's a thing that's supposed to show like your top strengths. Mine are communication. Oh, can you even see it? Communication, positivity, woo, maximizer, and input. So, and I feel like a lot of this my ADHD adds to, right? Like communication, I'm not afraid to talk in front of people, probably partly because I'm impulsive. Positivity, that's just something I got that energy. Woo is charm, which made me think, what did I say on that exam that I think I'm so charming? But here we go. Maximizer is the drive to continuously improve things.
Hmm.
And I think being someone with ADHD, and seeing how things can go quite sideways. I'm always making plans. I'm always making plans of how am I going to deal with that? What if I mess up? How am I going to fix it? And
Mm,
like I said, my ability to look at other people and go, who's the helper here that can help me reach my goal? And
mm.
then input is just the craving information. The other day, I looked up and realized I was still at work and after school at 5, it was 7 o'clock. I was so focused on what I was doing, and I don't have any windows. The time just right by. And that's hyper focus, which means today I get to leave early. But, things like that I think are ADHD things that people don't always see that, oh, you're ADHD, you can't pay attention. No, I can pay better attention than you could even dream of if it's something that, I get in line for.
Do you use any other accommodations through your workplace that kind of helps you adapt?
So I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I can take breaks whenever I need. I can go walk around. I can go talk to people. My work, I'm allowed to pace myself. Like I said the other day, I worked till 7 o'clock. It wasn't a big deal. Sometimes I have trouble hearing things because I get sensory overload, and so phones are really hard for me to use sometimes. And I know I was in a position where I was supposed to answer the phone, and I was able to get a headset. Like, that was an accommodation that they provided for me. They didn't make me have a phone in my new position.
Mm.
All the meetings I have are through Google Meet because if I can see someone, it's easier for me to, like, hear them. So, like, I consider that an accommodation that I don't have to keep a phone. I can have all my phone calls through Google Meet.
We oftentimes think about accommodations as something that's very rigid, something that's very structured and process oriented, and can be like, there can be those types of accommodations, but I would encourage you to think outside the box a little bit. A lot of these things are low cost to no cost. A lot of them are very easy. A lot of them are things like fidget toys that sit on your desk. So, as we start to wrap up here, I wanted to ask, is there anything that you wanted to highlight that's kind of going on within your personal or professional life?
If you're interested in what it's like to work at ACC, follow me on LinkedIn. I love posting about ACC. I'm obsessed with ACC, and I love interacting with people and broadening my network to meet other people. So just come to my LinkedIn. I'm not like an influencer or anything, but I like to connect with people. So let's just be LinkedIn friends.
And I would echo that ACC is a fantastic community. It's something that I have been part of and adjacent to for a long time, and I appreciate just how many students from many different backgrounds that they help find a quality and practical education. Thank you very much for coming on today. It's been an enlightening conversation. This has been Miles from Peak Performers, and this has been my disability story. Signing off for now.